Your Hollywood system stole our sex and co-opted our violence, so there's nothing left for our kinds of movies.
I did not hit her. It's not true.
Klopex? Klopex. Klopex.
Up yours, baby.
Me and Bubba, my little brother, listen to you every night.
Where in the hell are we?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
So it's we're talking about Child's Play. I got Kyle here.
Yeah, you do. Hi.
I got Chris.
What's up?
I got Mike.
Hey.
And we're talking about Child's Play from 1988. If you haven't seen it, where have you been?
Yeah. If you don't know what Child's Play is, it's also referred to as Chucky for some reason. That annoys me that people are like, "Oh yeah, I like the Chucky movies." It's
I
no,
agree.
it's not Chucky. It's Child's Play.
It's like when people refer to The Legend of Zelda, or like when they refer to Link as Zelda.
Yeah.
And people get all pissed off like that happens all the time.
Well, we're jumping into my questioning. Just
Let's do it.
super quick is actually what I was going to bring up, and I'm glad that you said that, Chris. If you don't know, this was my pick, and the reason I picked this is because oddly enough, this is a movie that I wanted to go a different direction. I maybe have seen this movie once or twice before this. I am not the biggest fan of this movie.
Okay.
I respect the hell out of this movie though, just because of what the special effects and the puppetry, and a lot of how it develops and stuff like that. But as far as entertainment value goes, I don't think Child's Play is the best of the series.
Oh, okay.
Wait.
The
Okay,
original.
so you like
Yeah.
the other ones?
No, we're gonna get into that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, I thought we were doing that now.
Yeah, no, we are. It's just I don't want to reveal all my cards right now. It's just like because I feel like I just rattle off like 6 different things.
Well, you
that I
got to
don't
know when
like.
to hold them, Cody.
You know, oh, that's
You are
know?
showing an ace, and we're all kind of scared now.
Please don't tell me that Seed of Chucky was your favorite.
No, no. I just feel like the reason that people call it the Chucky movies is because Chucky is like Leprechaun, in my opinion. That image or that character is more iconic than the movies themselves.
Can't disagree with that at all.
No.
Like that is, I 100%
This is the
agree.
Elvira argument too.
I think it's the same thing. People call Friday the 13th Jason sometimes. Like, oh yeah, Jason.
Yeah,
the
the
Jason
Jason movies, the
Yeah,
Freddy
Jason
movies.
The Freddy
Yeah.
movies, yeah.
Which is okay because we know what people are talking about, obviously,
Yeah.
when they say that. But I'm just like, does anybody know that this movie's called Child's Play, or is
Yeah.
it just Chucky?
I think it's just Chucky.
I
And-
like the
well,
title
and
Child's
that's,
Play.
Like that's the weird thing. Like it's all really well done. The acting is really, really, in my opinion, just throwing this out there already. I know it's early, but my opinion is that the acting is really, really good. The puppetry is amazing. The story is it's acceptable.
Yeah.
It's acceptable.
Yeah.
It's not the greatest in the world, like. But it's not the. Why doesn't he just use voodoo dolls all the time?
Back to the title real quick though. This movie was actually originally titled Blood Buddies.
Yes.
And then turned into Child's Play, I guess, for marketing purposes.
Well, no, it was originally Batteries Not Included. But
Oh, right.
yeah, but Steven Spielberg was already doing a movie, and the script
Yeah.
was completely, totally different. Voodoo was not even in the script.
Yeah.
It was more or less of this child's anger from his dad dying, and like this whole backstory. Yeah, like there's this.
Can I say that sounds like a way more interesting movie to
No,
me?
that's the thing that is like once you realize, like you hear the backstory behind like a lot of this stuff, even in the script. Oh God, why can't I think of her name? Help me out here. The mom,
Catherine
Hicks.
Catherine Hicks, Seventh Heaven.
Catherine Hicks said in like the original script that she read, there was a lot more backstory to things that come up in the movie that kind of don't really make sense.
Like, where's the dad?
She says that basically he was in like something happened to him, right? To where this is why that it's believable the kid makes up stories.
Yeah.
So it's not just like, oh, you're just making up stories out of nowhere. Like, no, this was a trait that he has because of a tragic event that happened to him and his father.
So boy cries wolf kind of thing.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
that was like a deeper part into the story, which I think would have played better.
That would have really
And
played
you
well.
see the elements there, but for me, I don't know what the missing element is for me. There's something missing to where, like, out of all the slashers, Chucky's on the bottom of the list for me.
Think about it this way, though. When you were 8 years old and you were walking through the video store aisle, was Chucky on the bottom of the list? Not for me, it wasn't. That was like a really scary. That was to me that was a scarier cover and a scarier idea.
Well, you're
than-
talking about the second and third, though. Keep in mind.
No, even this one.
This one didn't have Chucky on the cover.
Yes, it did.
No, it didn't. It had the fucking apartment complex with the
Nope.
the
It
apartment.
had him standing there wielding a knife with the little squiggle in the blade.
Oh, I'm gonna Google this
Yeah,
now.
Google
Yeah,
the shit
look it
out of
up.
that.
You keep
I have the VHS at my house.
Oh, you
I
know
will
what?
show it to you.
I'm not gonna say anything then. I believe that. I'm not gonna look it up now.
I'm enough.
While he's looking it up, why don't we talk about the actual plot versus the what sounds like a better plot?
Oh yeah,
actual-
you're right.
The
Fuck
actual
you.
plot, if you don't know, is basically there is a serial killer that knows voodoo.
Yeah.
Which is a very outlandish.
Yeah.
Well, that was added in later in the script. But he knows voodoo, and he transfers his soul into a doll which is purchased by a single mother for her son on his birthday because it's like his favorite show. And he needs to get out of this toy body because it's becoming real, and he needs to transfer his soul into the 6-year-old boy.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, that's about it.
Boy, I forgot how much weird mysticism shit was in this movie.
Right? You do forget. You
Completely forget.
That's the only way to explain it. honestly.
is Weekend at Bernie's too. But he gets such a great performance. It's hard to hard to hate on him, but at the same time, it's like one of the writers said that it's like, well, he knows voodoo, right? So, and he has a voodoo doll. If he knows how to use it, why wouldn't he just kill that way?
It's just you
know,
can't just kill
that's
people
a-
with voodoo dolls. That's not entertaining.
Well,
That's
no,
that's the difference. I
but
mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like, it worked. It was the 80s.
Yeah.
I almost
worked.
think they could have gotten away with not even having that scene where he goes back to the voodoo master and kills him. Basically, like, I feel like that was a little misplaced and kind of forced in there. I'm like, I would
I
have been
agree.
fine if you didn't even explain it. Like,
Who survives that explosion in the toy store? Jesus.
Chris Sarandon.
Chris
Sarandon
Sarandon.
does,
Oh,
yeah.
that
That's who fucking
turtleneck.
does it.
That turtleneck. He pulled it up over.
Do you know what? It protected his jugular. from
That's
getting-
all.
from
That's
getting
all that
cut.
matters. Everybody knows anything about electricity. It's your neck you got to protect.
and wasn't that
Check the neck. Protect it.
wasn't that a week span of time between meeting Catherine Hicks and that explosion happening? And he had like no marks on his body. He was
Yeah.
perfectly fine.
Because
Like,
it was a mystical explosion. That's why.
Yeah.
mysticism is also
Yeah.
protects.
It was
Man.
mystical, and apparently all of those toys were made of gasoline.
It's so true.
It'll make them like they used to.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was another point I was going to bring up. Is this the reason that we have like safer toys now? Because who in the hell gets a metal toy hammer for like a 6 or 7-year-old?
yeah. Fuck
No,
that
that's
shit.
true.
And
That-
this-
I got
they do
saws.
make them safer now.
You know what I found funny about that is that when he shows his partner the supposed murder weapon, he
Who?
looks at his partner.
Chris Sarandon shows his partner.
Yeah, he shows his partner the murder weapon, and he looks at it like this couldn't kill anybody. Nowadays, it's like fucking that could totally kill somebody.
Kill somebody with anything.
I would never.
It's a
let my kid
hammer.
have
It's
that.
a real hammer.
Yeah, I got for Christmas one year. It was like some kind of like woodworking kit, and it actually came with like a legit fucking saw, like a
Yeah.
couple legit saws to go with it. It's like looking back on it, like why would you give that to a kid? Why would you give that to?
Because
a
they
kid?
weren't pussies.
Is it that or just kids fucking stupid now?
Kids are just stupid now because I
Are
never
they
tried to
dumb
cut
now?
myself with a
What
fucking
happens
saw.
when you saw your arm?
Did anyone see this movie as a child? Because I never saw this movie. As a
yeah,
child.
I did.
I did not. I was kept from seeing this movie because my parents saw it in the theater. And my mom was so freaked out by it that she was like, "You're not. That's the movie you're not watching. You're not watching that
That
film."
sucks. I saw it as a
But-
kid.
Yeah, but I would catch bits of it on TV, which was exciting because like I wasn't, I would have to like watch a second of it. Then when mom was coming, you'd have to like change the channel real quick. So I was always super intrigued. And then of course, like I was then going through the video store and seeing the boxes on the shelf. I'm like, God, I wish I could rent this so bad. And then when I eventually got to see it, I think I was pretty impressed actually.
I wonder if your parents were confused why the last button on the remote was so worn down.
What's that? What's the last button?
Oh, you don't know how that works? Oh, you weren't doing it
You were
smart.
TV and
Switching
wrong.
channels. Switching channels.
You hit
quick.
last, it switches to the
That's
previous
right,
channel. You just
yeah.
always hit last.
It just pops right back.
And
Yep,
oddly
you're
enough,
right.
it went to late night Cinemax every morning.
Hey,
You
every
use
time.
the same technique.
You're like, wait a minute.
Why is it always going to Cinemax?
Who watched this last?
Well, I did not see this as a child. In my house, it was Chucky wasn't around. It was more Krueger and Jason. To me, like I watch this movie and I think it's good at building suspense and scenes, but I don't think it's like that. I don't think it's scary. I don't find it scary.
The thing I like the most about this one compared to the other ones is it does have some of that 70s horror movie vibe to it, where it's more going to be building suspense. It's more of a mystery at first than anything else, and like the horror elements kind of show up towards the end when he gets all fucking burned up and scarry and shitty. But it's not a true horror per se compared to the other ones, where the other ones got very campy and they got very hyper violent and they got very gory and like, how can we kill people with a doll? 18 different ways.
I want to talk about one thing, especially to what you just said about it not maybe being like a strict horror film. I feel like Chucky's reveal is a missed opportunity. Did anybody else feel that way?
When he comes to life?
When you first really see him come to life. I'm not talking about the hand that turns on the...
No, I mean when she's holding him before putting him in the fireplace.
There was a part of me that kind of felt like, and maybe this is due to the fact of the kind of special effects we were dealing with at the time, there was a part of me that kind of felt it was the wrong time to do it. Like at that very moment, I kind of knew it was coming. It's so frightening when she finds out that the batteries aren't into the thing, right?
Yes.
And it could have been right when she turns it around. He's like, "You fucking bitch!" Like, and goes nuts, like, or something like that, or just snaps to life.
Sure.
Or even when he was under the couch and she turns it up, if he wasn't under there anymore. Like, there were so many weird opportunities, and then it kind of like lingers on him on the fireplace.
Yeah.
And then he comes to life, and I wasn't startled or scared, or there wasn't a lot of suspense to it. It just felt like it had dragged on so long, it was over.
So it was a victim of editing.
Kind of, yeah.
I disagree with that because I think that was the suspense building. Everything that you just mentioned was building up to that moment. It just failed for you.
I personally liked the reveal.
But it didn't feel like it went on too long, and then there's all this light splashing on him from the fireplace that it kind of made me
It
feel...
took a little while to get to that point. Like I feel like it was done to you like 3 times in a row, and you're kind of like, I feel like it should have happened already. But I'm with you guys. Like the suspense worked on me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like when the doll turns around and says, "Hi, want to play?" and then she throws it and it rolls under the
Oh, that made me
couch.
fucking
scared the
jump.
shit
I'm like,
out of me.
holy shit! And
That
then
did.
I'm like, no way! I'm not gonna go look under that fucking flap of the couch.
yeah,
No
I
way.
said,
there's
like,
no
why don't you
fucking way I'm
flip
doing
the
that.
couch over? Just lift the whole couch.
That's
She
what I
gets
thought.
down on the floor, her face pressed to the carpet, and she just slowly picks it up, and it's just there. And you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen?
Can I tell
What's
you
gonna
something?
happen?
I don't know which thing it was that they used, if it was the actor or if it was
The animatronic?
The many times that they threw it, Chucky, and it rolled, but it always rolled the same way, which was very effective.
Yeah, it was creepy.
Yeah, it was
when he hits the because he
Whenever he would
first
roll and disappear,
when he
it's
first
creepy.
turns his head around and says want to play and she drops it, like the way it hits the ground and instantly rolls in like
Yeah.
one seamless motion,
I
it was
think-
like
Yeah.
it was like, wait a minute, did that just roll because that's just naturally how it fell, or did that thing just
Yeah.
roll on its own?
It's
Like,
very
it was-
unnatural. Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
It definitely rolled on its own. That's what they wanted you to the
Yeah,
audience to think.
but it was just fast enough and it was just subtle enough where it felt like okay, what's going on here? Obviously, I know it rolled on its own because it turns fucking head around on its own. So at that point, I'm like, well, I'm definitely not looking under the couch. I'm going to leave.
So you think the
I'm
way
going to
they
get a new apartment right
you think
now.
the way they pulled that off is through animatronics? Do you think that it's something like it hits the ground and then it rolls itself around,
could have
Or
been.
it could have been the actor because there was an actor and they did I think they made everything 30% bigger for the actor scenes.
That makes a lot of sense.
Like an
Like,
actual doll.
wait, holy fucking shit though. This is only a $9 million film though. I gotta say, like,
Could make it go a long way.
that's
to make everything bigger around them.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. What you're talking about is like in movies like this that only have like a $9 million budget. There's an obvious attention to detail involved in the making of it, which shines through
Dude, I
with
think
the
they
whole
s-
film.
I think that he said Sarandon said that the where he's getting choked in the car. He said that took like a week to shoot.
Wow, that's dedication right there. That's having a vision and making it happen.
That's a fucking long time for that little.
Yeah, that little thing be wrapped around your neck. He's used to it though, because he wears turtlenecks. It's
Yeah.
like getting choked.
Yeah,
all
that's
the time.
why they chose him.
I don't. But still,
No,
like,
there's a lot of ambition that went into this film. I
No.
mean, Kevin Yeager, the guy who designed all the animatronics and the doll, pretty much, it was hailed as a genius by Dick Smith, and he's the one who actually like recommended that they use Kevin. This was his first film that he did, and he went on to do some huge shit. But
yeah,
like,
dude, I love the animatronics. in
yeah,
this
but
movie.
I
I'm very
mean,
impressed.
they made like 9 dolls. All made to do different things. One just vibrated and wiggled on the floor. One had this certain kind of face. Because if you notice, the doll progressively gets more human-like as the story goes on. So they had all these different dolls for the different phases of Chucky. So by the end of it, he looked the most human because obviously he's supposed to be turning human essentially. So, but that was like the attention to detail that they played, and like apparently there was no issues with the doll on set. It worked 100% perfectly, like almost every time.
Good for them.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's a testament to what kind of Cody was already talking about, like the real star of this. I mean, this real star of this movie is Chucky. And it's no way to shame people for calling it Chucky, the Chucky movies.
It's odd that Chucky's the star of this because I don't think there's a bad actor in this movie.
You know something? It hurt. It hurt like a son of a bitch. It even bled. Now, why is that, John?
You're turning human.
What?
The more time you spend in that body, the more human you become.
You mean I have to live out the rest of my life in this body? No fucking way! You got me into this, you get me out.
I can't do that, Chucky,
Why not?
because you're an abomination. An outrage against nature.
And we are going to talk about the actors in Child's Play because I think every one of them's pretty solid. I think Catherine Hicks is probably my favorite personally.
She's a great mom.
Yeah,
Dude,
she's solid.
She's
really
so
solid.
believable.
She is.
She's so goddamn
And
believable.
she has that really friendly, like that face that like kind of like.
but she's gorgeous at the same time.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
She's
But
she-
also like.
but she makes you feel safe.
She's the single mom everyone wants
Yeah.
to find.
Like you're under her wing at all times.
kind of
Like
like,
if a-
somebody that makes you feel secure.
Yeah, like if a car was to flip on you, she'd get
Yeah.
that weird mom strength and
Like
flip
when
the
they-
car over.
What was
My
it?
baby! Like she would do that.
It was Seventh Heaven, right? She was in.
Yeah, she's the mom
Like,
of Seventh
she's
Heaven.
like perfect for that.
Yeah, she's
perfect mom.
She is.
They saw Child's Play and they're like, her.
Yeah, she goes through a lot of emotions though in this movie. I mean, finding like coming home to her friend dead, then her kid being
Right?
a weirdo, and like thinking that dolls are talking, and the talk she has with him on the bed is it's
Yeah.
convincing. It's like I feel like she's really a concerned mom.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that damn kid Andy.
But that's somebody I wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
Go
let's
ahead, lay it
talk
out.
about
He's a
Candy.
child. I understand that, but I think he was the worst one in this movie.
Get out of town, dude. I thought he was great.
I thought he was fantastic.
Thought he was great.
I thought he was
You're-
fantastic.
you're
actor.
wrong.
I kind of see where both of you are coming from because here's the weird thing about it. I feel like, yes, he's really kind of creepy in a weird way, the way he kind of like talks and stuff like that, but only because he's so like upping the I'm a kid factor.
I think he's also supposed to be somewhat traumatized from whatever, like that.
Like he's still acting off a plot point that no longer exists.
Well,
possibly.
I thought more like acting off a cue card. Like,
yeah, it seemed like he
Really,
was
I think
really-
the scene. I think the scene when he's in the Chucky's coming up the stairs to kill him in the nut house.
hey, don't get
And
me
he's like-
wrong.
he's
He's
like
got
in
his
there
moments.
crying.
It's fucking
great.
convincing.
He's
Yeah.
got his
Fuck.
moments, but there's a lot of it that's like
There's
what
a
you're
lot of-
what you're discussing, which
Yeah.
is like, "Hi, Chucky,
Yeah.
I'm Andy." It's like,
Yeah.
how old are you? You're like 6, 7 years
so
old. Like,
it's so
But he's
deliberate.
traumatized.
It's deliberate though. It's very deliberate. Like I'm deliberately trying to act like a kid.
He's very
yeah,
kid from
exactly.
The Shining.
Too
He's very
deliberate.
kid from The Shining.
No, Kid from The Shining.
No,
way
he's
more
fucking
convincing.
weird. He's
way
just like
more
stoic
convincing.
the whole time. That kid is like fucking like he's just vapid. Like he just like there's nothing going on in there.
The only gripe that I would have for him, and this is something that someone else brought up about it, was that the way he talks is very whiny.
I mean,
The way he talks is very. It does have a whiny tone.
I guess that's
to
what
it,
I
But
guess maybe
Well,
that's
he's
what we mean
poor.
by he's a kid.
But they live in a
Great.
massive apartment.
You know what? That is a very good point and
They
something
do.
I thought about. He's like, we don't have enough money. I'm like, you have enough money
It's
to
like a
afford
penthouse.
That's
that looks
really
like a shitty part of town.
nice.
No, it's actually. I don't think it's supposed to be. I think it's.
This is in
actually
New
a little-
York, right?
No,
Was
it's
this-
Chicago.
Oh, Chicago. Regardless, whatever. Great
That building
great
is awesome.
apartment.
Yeah, probably apartments in Inglewood.
What kind of mom boxes up jeans to make it look like the toy you actually want,
Yeah.
and then it turns
Yeah.
out to be jeans?
A very manipulative mom.
Yeah. Hey, guess what? You got a toy. Fuck you. It's jeans.
Oh, I thought you would be pleasantly surprised by that. Okay, well, I'm sorry. Here's some tools.
Here's
that
a
your,
toolkit.
Here's
your
a
dolls
toolkit.
use that you can't have a doll for.
fix the leaky faucet. God damn it!
You need to start helping out around here, Andy. Enough of this good guy bullshit.
There's some good guy tools. Get a good guy job.
How about that breakfast in bed he made?
Oh my God, it's so much sugar and butter.
Who didn't do that though as a kid?
I did used to put sugar on my sugary cereal.
I do want to
Fucking
talk about
weird.
that. Now I haven't read the script, but it's moments like this that really in screenwriting that I really love, because that scene really establishes like their plot in life, kind of. I mean, despite the fact that their apartment looks pretty nice, it does kind of show like, why is this kid up earlier than his mom? Why is he making?
Because she's a real deadbeat, Mike.
No.
She works all night.
Because,
She works
I know, I'm
hard.
kidding. I'm
No,
She
that's
worked 5 shifts, Chris.
And she did.
But that's right. But that's exactly right. And that's established without ever having to actually say a word. She doesn't wake up and she said, "I had to work all night," like Andy.
Yeah.
It's just
It was
established.
like,
that
what
like,
time is it? It's
huh.
it's only 6.
That's
Yeah.
when.
like,
That's when you could
oh, yeah.
you could leave your 6-year-old home alone, sleeping, and go to work.
Yeah.
Well,
back in
obviously
80s.
she couldn't because she had to have her friend Maggie come over. Who,
That was just so Maggie could get thrown out the window.
Can we talk about Maggie?
Maggie throws herself out the window. She's a little dramatic.
that was pretty dramatic.
Not only that,
I don't know.
but
Have you ever been hit in the head with
I
a
hate-
hammer?
I hate no.
I'd
That
say
cut.
no.
I
Probably.
hated that cut. It was a terrible edit.
Oh yeah, I'll agree with that.
Do you want to talk about Maggie for
yeah,
a second?
I do want to talk
'Cause
about
I
Maggie
do too.
a little
I do
bit,
too.
because I was kind of happy to see her thrown out that window.
Yep.
Yep.
And I'm gonna tell you why. She kind of like, of all the actors in this film, I felt like, was she just like was she supposed to be like a really washed up stand up comedian?
No, she was.
Because her whole fucking shtick was just like, oh, looks like a guy I used to date.
Yeah.
Like, haven't seen a guy in a few
literally,
years.
she's
huh?
literally in there. It's just cannon fodder, dude. She's a kill. She's just a kill.
The thing I didn't like about her was I actually did kind of like her at first, and then as soon as she started babysitting the kid, I was like, "You are such a bitch!" Like everything she said was like, "You're in there brushing your teeth, right, Andy?" Like just so irritated to be
I just
there.
kinda
I
feel
didn't
like-
take it that way, but
Me either.
yeah, it just sounded like she was making sure he's brushing
But no,
his teeth.
she's
Nah,
she's
it was
she's
angry.
a kill.
Is there some deep
But I
seated
think
like
she's more
than-
history for you?
I think
It
she
was
is.
anger.
I think she is more than just a kill. I also feel like she's a stereotypical It's a weird thing. I feel like it kind of
Italian woman.
No, not at all.
Jewish woman.
No. What creeps up like in the early 90s, this like backlash or this stereotypical idea of what a working woman was, is that she's devoted all her time to work and she just can't find a man in the big city. Like that's like what she was playing to a T.
See, I didn't take her as that at all. I took her
How
as
do you
like
figure?
super domineering and just kind of maybe
What?
scared every
All
night.
she
this
did
was
was
the-
complain about not finding a
Hold on.
man in the big city.
Yeah.
Like that's all she
I got
did.
this as a babysitter who was frustrated with a kid she was trying to get to go to bed, who she kept on thinking wasn't going to bed, but it was an evil little doll.
He was very compliant. I don't know why
He
she
wa-
would have been frustrated.
because the
Because-
TV got turned back on after
Yeah.
she said no.
this started before that happened.
Oh my god!
she had a tude. She
You
had
have
a
a
tude for
tude.
sure.
She had some tude.
I love how this character has created the most split between all of
Well, no,
us.
she's a kid. She's a kill, just like we said earlier. You don't need the Voodoo Man scene.
Or
That's
the
just such a-
crackhead scene. I didn't
That's
get
just kill.
that.
the crackhead scene you need because he's already referenced.
was the
he's
driver.
referenced at the beginning. He's a driver that leaves him
Yeah,
behind.
he said I'm gonna get.
so I already
you.
know.
Gotcha.
I already know this
Okay,
character exists,
okay.
and I already know that
He
there's
said I'm
something
gonna get
going on.
Eddie Caputo.
That's right.
He's kind of a clue that Chris Sarandon kind of follows to get to Chucky, to put it all together. It's a clue. He says straight up to him, "I'm gonna get you, and I'm gonna get
Yeah.
what's his name," and then
And
he
the-
realizes like, "Oh, wait a
Yeah,
second.
but I'm saying that kill still needs to exist because that character was already established at the beginning of the film. Like you see that character
Yes.
in the film. The voodoo guy, he just fucking pops up out of nowhere, and it's like, hey, guess what? This is where I learned voodoo.
It is backstory, but you don't need that backstory that he learned voodoo. It would be more intriguing if he was just like, you're like, what did this dude know?
if
voodoo?
I just saw, if all I had to go off was the inside of his apartment, then I'd be like, okay, I can accept he's
I've
in some
got it.
weird
But can I,
fucking
wait,
shit.
can I ask though, with his personality,
yeah.
would you really buy that this dude was like a mystic?
No, I would not buy that Charles Lee Ray is a mystic, man. But I think that he was, what they're trying to say is he was so evil that he sought out this kind of power and used it for his
I
own
agree.
benefit.
But did anybody get the idea that when you finally meet the voodoo guy and then you put them together and you try to picture them together hanging out having a beer talking about
voodoo.
talking about jerk chicken or whatever the fuck they were dealing with?
Jerk chicken.
Yeah, something
Real
like
Cajun.
like what were they
Yes.
talking about? Like what were they discussing? Like voodoo and what it was like back in I mean
Did you not watch the movie? It's in the movie. They talked about where he hid his voodoo doll of himself.
He knew it, yeah.
because he said, "But you shouldn't talk about where you hide these things." Like, why would?
Yeah.
You know what I do?
Hey, guess what I made today?
Hey, Kyle, you know what I do? I hide voodoo dolls of myself.
But what are these
Oh,
guys?
Cody, where do you hide those at? By
I'm
the
just
way,
trying to figure out where these guys met. Like, where do
My
you guys,
closet.
Where do these two different types of characters
Dude,
meet
just chance
and
encounter.
become friends?
He sought it out, dude, because he wanted the power.
Chance encounter. You
But
think
why
that you
does
think
that-
that voodoo guy was like fucking on the legit? Like he was like a good
well,
citizen.
he was definitely not legit enough to say. He was definitely legit enough to say that you're an abomination, like what you have done.
Well, it's because
to these things.
That's because the guy used perversion to his voodoo techniques that he teaches.
I guess what
that
I'm
he
asking
taught.
is, I guess what I'm asking is, do you think that he was so weird that he would hang out with a serial killer
Maybe he had
Yes.
an ad out in the
and
paper.
teach him the powers of mysticism?
Maybe he
that
didn't. Maybe
Well,
he
he
didn't
did
know
it by-
he was a serial
yeah.
killer at that time.
Maybe
he's
he
Chelsea
wasn't.
Gray.
Maybe he didn't do it by choice. Maybe he was forced. He's dealing with a crazy serial killer.
I mean, I guess it's possible, but these are all things I wish I kind of had more backstory for. I kind of actually don't think that this
This
scene
is
was
why.
so
This is
bad.
why I think this scene shouldn't be in here because now you're focusing way
Yeah.
too much on.
But you know what?
ancillary information.
If it was never established, I would have really been like, what the fuck?
Not me.
No,
nope.
I saw his apartment and I was like, okay, I accept
Yeah,
it.
that's
He's
enough.
in some
That
weird
would have
shit.
been enough too. I'd have been like, oh, he was a weird serial killer, which I think would have played more to his character than just like, no, he was a sane serial killer who had an evil idea of like, this is how I'm going to carry on if they stop me. I'm going to use voodoo, which is actually real and no one else knows it but me.
I mean, the other thing, the other question I have in this film that I feel is never established is, in what way is Charles Lee Ray a serial killer?
He's
a
the strangler.
Right, but why?
For voodoo.
He's been strangling people.
That's just my guess.
That's probably not for voodoo.
no,
Cody.
I'm sure it's for strangling.
No, but we're just spitballing here. Like in other films, like Silence of the Lambs, stuff like that, or any real serial killer movie, it always kind of boils down to he's always after women, or he's always after this, or he's always after that. And then you
You
get
don't
some
need all that
backstory that you
information.
understand a little bit.
You don't need that information in this movie.
Kind of.
No, you
Well,
don't.
It's a doll movie. It's about a doll.
You don't. You need to. All you need to know is what you get from the news or whatever, talking about the Strangler, and then him getting killed in the toy store and him transferring his soul in
Do you think
via
the
bolt of lightning
wait
and
a second,
funky
here's the thing.
clouds, and that's it. The
Do you-
doll takes over the story.
I hate to get like all Dextery and shit, but like the characterization of Charles Lee Ray, this kind of like really shrewd, snot, like kind of like creepy kind of dude, really fit what you think like a serial killer is. Like, a serial killer is more like somebody like the quiet guy in the corner, the guy that you don't suspect,
What?
the guy that was like, yeah,
Serial killers come in all shapes and sizes.
no, but like it's like this guy seems like he's like a street criminal.
Running with a gun and shit.
Yeah, like a thief, kind of like somebody smart enough to be like, I'm not gonna start
No, he
killing
does.
people.
He does. No, he does seem that way. I agree with that. I don't think the Chucky character was necessarily 100% discovered yet, and this is where you get the sequels going off maybe in a different direction than this movie is because this is after Nightmare on Elm Street craze, and this is probably after. Yeah, this is after a couple of.
This is after all of the
Sequels.
big ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was like the kind of theme of character of like the witty, like I'm funny but I'm scary. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, I
Like,
understand.
And I feel like that's kind of in parts what they were trying to capture. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of agree
Just
with that. I can
speculating.
see that being a thing. Like we need, like straight horrors and doesn't do it anymore.
It's got a little because it does feel like it has like a little bit of comedic element.
There's
to
there's
it.
definitely comedic element to it, but I see your point. I can see the director being like looking at all these Nightmare on Elm Street sequels or these Friday the 13th sequels and being like, wow, the campiness really just went fucking crazy. Like it'd be cool to make a straight horror film again, but introduce little bits of those kind of comedic elements.
But that's also why I feel like he feels like a street chemical.
Criminal.
One of those. Yeah. I think that's also why he feels that way because I feel like he's more portrayed that way as Chucky than he is.
You don't see a lot of him as Charles Lee Ray.
Yeah, Charles Lee Ray is very quick. It's in the Sam's Club of toy stores.
Yeah, right. It's fucking huge.
Fucking huge.
It's like
goddamn
an F.A.
warehouse.
Schwartz, but like a warehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's huge. It's huge. They can't find each other. And it's,
I love every time Mike references F.A. Schwartz or whatever. I have no fucking idea what he's talking
Toy
about.
Story.
Just a big toy.
Didn't you
store.
watch the movie
Home Alone
Big?
2?
Home Alone. Yeah.
Big.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Home Alone 2?
I just
Home
feel
Alone
like you reference it because you used to live in New York.
Home Alone 2.
I didn't live that much in New York.
It's like saying it's like the Costco of KB toys.
Yeah, I lived in Long Island.
See, I would get.
I didn't
along
even
with that
live in
more
Long
'cause,
Island.
you know, my family's working family.
Nah, I
Went to
forgot.
KB Toys.
Work at Family Toys.
You really don't see much of them. in that aspect, except for running around with a gun.
He
But
is
you-
kind of wild
but,
though.
Yeah, but you get more of it from I think his language and what he says and how he talks when he's Chucky. Honestly,
I feel like he's the type of guy that could like really could con you. He could con you really well.
Which could also be a good sign, a sign of a good serial killer. Somebody who's really good at talking and being convincing. He convinced that voodoo guy to teach him his shit.
he's got long
certainly
hair too,
did.
and that's a sign.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we all
Long
know
hair is a
villains.
sign.
Yeah, there's no heroes.
Trench
Unless you're the
coat.
Highlander, you're
I was
not
like,
really a
hold
hero.
on, yeah. Well, that was my thing. I was like, long hair, trench coat, and you're not listening to metal.
You're gonna be a criminal.
That's what Child's Play needed, more metal.
Long hair, trench coat. Listen to Kenny G. I don't know.
You say that as like a joke, but it gets that way later
What's
on
that?
in the sequels.
I didn't hear it.
He says that's what Child's Play needs is more metal.
I don't know if it needed that though. I kind of
I-
like like the earlier films better than the later ones.
I like this one better than all of them.
Yeah, me too.
This is definitely my favorite one out of
Yeah,
the,
I
the
think
collection.
three's my
I
favorite.
think I actually like them in order.
So let's discuss this though. Okay, so Cody, what is it that you like about the later films that you feel this one is lacking? This is
I actually,
the amped up
I
campiness
think
that
that,
works out
yeah,
for
I
it?
think that's what it is. I think it's like for me, watching it, I'm like, okay, it's a killer doll. To me, it's not scary. So when in the later films where I think they realize that no one's really afraid of Chucky anymore because it's such a well known character, honestly, that let's just play off the campiness and have fun with horror in a way. I found it more enjoyable because I found the character found a better home as that type of character rather than holding it back a little bit like they did in this.
But you
film.
kinda
The time it was made is different though. I mean,
Yeah, no, that's true. No, that's very true.
Right, because
This was taken. The first one's taken as a much more serious.
Yeah.
film.
probably the most serious.
yeah.
I have more fun with the more lackadaisical.
Because we do understand where the
lazy
fear
ones.
comes from. I mean, they had films like this, like Poltergeist obviously did it with the doll running around and stuff like that, Puppet Master and stuff like that. There were strict horror films that played on this idea that dolls are just fucking creepy and you shouldn't buy your kids them, quite honestly. But
Andy, no, please. We're friends to the end, remember?
This is the end, friend.
They held the Chucky character back in this one, obviously, or it hadn't found itself. And in the later films, you could say it found itself, but that's when he's more outrageous. And,
they didn't know what they could get away with at the time.
Fun.
And then I think that like they interjected a little bit of that in here, like a doll calling somebody a fucking bitch.
Well, this
and
one's-
then like
I
it
feel like-
moves on to way more of that.
I
as
feel
it
like
goes
this
on.
one, it doesn't look at it like this one takes itself serious, where as they go on, they take themselves less and less serious.
Yeah.
And for me, they get more and more fun. That's just me. I'm just saying.
I mean that's essentially what happens with so many other these classic horror movie characters like Freddy. Freddy becomes like fucking Johnny Carson as it goes on. But is that more of a response to of how you think that character was originally supposed to be envisioned, or do you think that's more of a response to people are getting kind of bored with the deaths? We need to add an extra comedic element to maybe grab a new set of audiences, which is what I think those movies are victims of.
I think it's more acceptance of the character when and they
Because
realize
when you watch the first Nightmare on Elm Street, I don't see that character as being like that comedic and crazy. It's very terrifying.
No, me either. And that's the thing I think though is once you realize that like Freddy hit it big and they started doing like he was in commercials. He was in like commercials for like food and chips and shit. So
you're right. I remember this.
Like so, I mean, once a character hits, I think that stage, it's no longer okay. I'm afraid of Freddy Krueger anymore. No, I'm beating his Fritos.
Can I just say how hysterical it is that this lovable child molester is selling fucking chips to everybody?
Knives
that at
for
some point in
fingers.
time in the 90s, we were just like, let's just like commercialize this.
Well, no,
ass.
I think it was like Pepsi or something. It was something big
him like
that.
skateboarding and shit, and like.
But like, it was.
Hanging out. He's wearing hypercolors.
No, he
and
did
shit.
do that. I think in like the sixth one, and I think he was in a Pepsi commercial where
I do think I remember that.
Yeah,
But I mean, I think these characters get to a point to where they're not scary anymore, so that they do have to poke fun at themselves.
So then I mean,
and that's basically what Scream said.
Yeah, but looking at it, like, okay, well, Freddy really didn't start getting like campy until around like number 4.
Hold on now.
He didn't start getting campy till about number 4.
Four is the one where the 4 is like the one where you actually first start caring about the characters.
Well,
That's a different show.
Dream Warriors.
Yeah.
Come on, that's number 3.
That's 4, I thought.
Dream Warriors is number 3.
That's
son.
3?
Yeah.
Dream
Well, I meant
Warriors
Dream
is
Warriors.
three.
But I feel like Dream Warriors
But
has
my
like
point,
Game of
my point
Thrones,
being, so that series, for example, that one took, let's say, 2 to 3 sequels. And how is it that Chucky just instantly went from a like serious horror film into
I don't think it
campy jokey?
I don't think it did. I think it took till 3.
Child's Play 2 is him trying to get the kid back to get him back in the toy store, and then it ends with him almost getting into the kid, right? Doesn't Andy make a return?
I think
The second one he's in it.
It's him just trying to return, being like, I still got to
And
get
the
this fucking kid.
Third one is at the school
Okay.
with the carnival
Okay, so
with the kids.
I do vaguely remember Child's Play 2 wasn't so campy. It wasn't too campy. I kind of feel
Child's
like it
Play
wasn't.
2?
Yeah.
It had its moments of camp, but it was, again, Chucky's character was developed more in number 2. He was saying more things. He was being a little more comedic, like the scenes were even a little bit more comedic, but then they had some really good scary
I do want to
stuff
give
in
us
there,
some
too.
credit, though. I think Brad Dourif's voice is just
it's phenomenal.
fantastic. I almost don't see it going anywhere else
No,
with sequels other than
it has to go the way that it went. It has to go
Yeah.
the direction that it went. It has to. It's just
he
because,
has so much.
like I said, it became such a lovable
character in his
It became
voice.
such a lovable character, even as a scary character. And essentially, it became where you stopped rooting for the human characters and you started rooting for Chucky. Just like all these characters go through. This is all these horror characters go through this. So I mean that, and then when that happens, I mean that's when these movies go to that camp level, and then you do get remakes where they try to do serious. We're gonna make it serious again. I think the camera work, cinematography is really good in this movie. I think it's solid throughout. Nothing, I don't think that extremely grabs me, but I don't think anything that was like, okay, this is.
I like the Chucky vision, like
Yeah.
the low to the ground and the kind of
That's
shuffling.
cool.
That was
Yeah,
really.
that's a
It
wild
was
vision.
creepy how fast it was.
It was kind of like a play on Friday the 13th a little bit.
Which one?
Well, just
the
killer
first one,
vision,
obviously.
killer vision in
The
general.
idea of it,
Or
but then pulling it low to the
Halloween.
ground so that you know who we're dealing with. We're dealing with a small doll.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of interesting that way they did.
But yeah,
that.
other than that, there wasn't any I wouldn't say groundbreaking cinematography that I saw.
I will say a borrowed shot was when Chucky's stabbing through the door and the mom's on the other side.
yeah.
It's so shining.
It was so shiny. I thought that too.
You know what's also so Terminator is the end of this movie.
Oh, when he's all like melted and like still,
yeah, he's like coming. Still,
oh,
he's just
yeah, but
still
I
dragging on.
love
it.
that.
I do
Yeah,
too.
it's wonderful, but I mean, they definitely borrowed from a lot of films.
Yeah.
and,
Well, I got to give him up for hiding all the equipment that it took to run this animatronic.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it always was hidden well. There was never a moment where I was like, oh, I can see the wire, or I can see the post holding it up, while it walks, or anything like that. It was clean. It seemed very to me,
Attention to detail.
believable, actually believable. If I had any complaint about some of the shots, it would be mostly the ones with the actor, because I could tell that it
You
was a
can te-
person.
Yeah.
You can tell, but you could also. It was also needed for the time as where technology was and stuff.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. And
because I do want to talk about one.
it wasn't so bad to me where it took you out of the film. The worst was when it was
I
running
caught
up the
it,
stairs.
though.
Yeah, the worst was when he was running up the stairs in the nut house.
Oh yeah.
That was the worst to me. But that's so quick. Like
the one.
Nah, there's
the,
a couple other shots.
The worst shot for me is when he's reaching for the oven, and that hand just looks so.
Oh yeah.
It almost looks claymation.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
fucking
Well, there was the
hand.
shot where I think when Maggie the babysitter is there and it runs across the hall and it's just in the background out
Yeah.
of focus, but it moves like a human being. It doesn't have quite the same motion as what you're seeing.
Although I thought that was still a good scene because it was like the first time I saw it, I was like, ooh, that was fucking creepy.
yeah, it kind of came out of
Yeah.
nowhere.
Yeah.
Lighting was great.
You want to rate it?
Lighting was great.
No,
Thank you, Chris.
No, I do think
The kills were pretty tame.
They were. There wasn't
Well,
a lot of it.
That's another reason why I didn't find this I don't know if it's one of those things it would be the thing that I can think of as most compare it where people are like, oh my god, it's a clown, so it's so scary. Where I watch it, it's not a scary movie to me. It's not. But people are freaked out. But I think that's the same thing with this. Is the only reason that I think people found this scary because this movie's very, in my opinion, very tame. Is because it was a doll and people are afraid of dolls.
holding a knife.
Yeah.
Or a hammer.
Yeah, any kind of weapon.
Because one of the things they talked about in the special
Or
features,
blowing out a pilot light.
One of the
Sorry.
things they were talking about in special features was just that I watched was talking about playing on the fears that people had of their toys when they were younger, and I'm like, for me personally, I never had a fear of my toys. Like I was never afraid of my.
I had
one of my
I had
toys.
an acquaintance growing up whose mother collected dolls, and her entire home was completely filled. Even the floors were like lined with all of these dolls. And if not even have seen these films at that point, there was like a weird fear, like you were just constantly being like watched, or that like I couldn't imagine getting up in the middle of the night and getting a glass of water and having to walk through that room. Like.
Yeah. Movies like this didn't really scare me a whole lot. The only ones that ever really made me like look over my shoulder growing up would have been something like The Exorcist or something. Like, I'm just always assuming there's some kind of face in the darkness staring at me.
I'm surprised that none of you guys. Is this like a?
I never had toys that scared me.
Like
Growing
an
up. I had X-Men. They were on my side.
No, I understand that. I'm just wondering if this is like an early '80s thing, and then this is just like the tail end of that. I mean, like Poltergeist to
Toys
me
got cooler in the 90s.
Poltergeist to me is scary as hell, bro.
Yeah, but Poltergeist, like the biggest scene that I fucking remember is that goddamn fucking
The Jack in the Box?
Yeah,
Not me.
running
Or whatever,
around.
the clown thing?
Yeah, the clown thing.
Not
That's
me.
the
That's
biggest,
her-
scariest thing.
Her getting her ass sucked into that closet scares the hell out of me.
See, I could care less about that.
Oh
That's
my
so-
God.
I couldn't.
That's
give a
where they
shit.
live, Mike.
I know what you mean. That's always the
Mike,
scene
that's
that people
where they
wait
live.
for. That's why
Yeah.
that's why in the remake of the Poltergeist they used the clown as the marketing. The poster was the clown sitting in the rocking chair because a lot of people remember that about Poltergeist.
I remember that. I mean, I do remember that being pretty
that-
creepy.
Yeah, you remember that being creepy, but I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't have no clown toys.
No, I never owned clown toys.
I think the understanding was that dolls were creepy, especially specifically
Action figures are
life-size
not
dolls.
creepy, though.
No, but action figures are different than
But
dolls.
no, I had him, my buddy. My buddy was not scary. I had him, my buddy.
I wouldn't have
Huh.
wanted that.
That's weird. They
Like,
got these
I
dolls.
had 'em, my buddy,
What
and
are they
me,
called?
Mike.
You ever seen these dolls? The ones that they're like
Cabbage Patch Kid?
the timeout dolls are called timeout dolls.
God.
The
Have
fuck's
you-
a timeout doll?
Yeah, what
Have
does
you
that
ever
mean?
seen this? You
It's
go-
a doll that you yell at and you send it to timeout when it's being naughty.
Hold on, I'm going to explain it to you, which is
I like
just-
I like Cody's explanation.
I like my
that's
explanation.
exactly what it fucking is.
No, it's
okay,
not.
yes, it is. There are these dolls, especially if you go to like really old people's houses. Like you go in there and you see these. They're
Really old
dolls
people's
that
houses.
like are like they have their hands in their shoulders and they have their head in their shoulders and they're like in timeout and they lean over couches or they lean over small like end tables and stuff like that and like really older folks like 80-year-old folks like have these dolls in their
Whose
homes.
houses are
Yeah,
you in?
what are
I've
you
never seen this
doing?
before. How many old
I
people's
feel
houses are
this-
you going
I
this
have
into?
seen
sounds-
seen this in an older
This sounds
folks' house.
familiar. This
You know
does
what I'm
sound a
talking
bit
about?
familiar.
They're
Not
called
familiar.
timeout dolls. They're these life-size child dolls.
Y'all hang out
that
in weird
look-
places.
that are just like they're being
Fucking
punished.
sounds like a waste of money to me.
Yeah.
They're frightening, but they're frightening.
Have you seen
What
my
does that do?
punishment doll? The one, the one over there with its head buried in the sand because I yell at it and call it names like "stupid fucking idiot."
What does that do?
Time out.
Like, what does that do for a
Therapy.
person?
Therapy is what.
You
it is.
never
Is that
seen
it?
this.
It makes you feel better about yourself because you sent someone to timeout?
Oh my god, dude, that's like what.
It's a power
no,
move.
Dude, okay,
It's a power
so
move,
I'm gonna
Chris.
tell you what these are. He's showing me a picture of these, and I have seen.
Help
them
me see
before.
that. Hold on, pass it over
What
here.
these are? Is,
Oh my God,
This
those
is
are
for
creepy.
weird QVC shoppers.
Yes.
It's for the weird QVC shoppers. They put them out in their yard and they put it in like their bushes.
Yes.
Well, how do they all have
And it
blonde,
looks like it's
curly
playing like
hair?
hide and go seek in the bushes. I don't think it's supposed to make it look like they're being punished.
No, they're called timeout dolls.
To me, it looks like they're playing like they're counting for hide and go seek.
They're
Oh no,
called hide and seek dolls.
I imagine it was I'm being punished. I got to stay in the thing and count to 10. You,
That's
you
a
put
weird
it
doll.
down.
Yeah, it is. They are weird. I agree. It's like you remember when you were a kid. This happened to me in the night. Like everybody had them in the yards where it was like an old lady's big ass, like bent over the flowers, and it was just the ass cut out.
I know exactly
You
what you're
remember
talking
those?
about.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I don't.
There was a craze of these. I
Mike,
remember. He's
Mike,
right.
Mike, I'm gonna buy you like 30 timeout dolls.
Was
If
that
you-
like the Tickle Me Elmo?
They're more
of
expensive
than you
think they are.
1992.
That
No,
was a
this is like,
sound
this is like
investment.
this is like creepy old lady. He's right. It's creepy old lady things. Let's rate this.
Let's do it.
How many timeout dolls do you want to rate? It's my pick. So how many timeout dolls?
All right, I'm cool. Like,
That'll
who are
be-
we starting with?
That'll be easy, Chris. There's a lot of images
Yeah.
to choose from online.
All right.
How many timeout dolls do we want to rate this?
Well, who are you asking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we,
Who are we
like-
starting with?
Let's start with Chris.
I'm gonna rate this 4 timeout dolls.
That's a lot of timeout dolls.
I think this isn't a really nostalgic thing. Chucky was always, I remember being a kid when the second one was coming out and looking through the newspaper at the movie ads and seeing him sitting in front of the Jack in the Box with the giant scissors getting ready to cut the head off. And like his image just has been burned in my brain for almost as long as I've loved movies. And it was always hailed as this super scary film. So when I finally got to see it, I was so excited, and I feel like I was not let down. The animatronics are awesome in this film. The doll looks creepy in the design and the way that it transforms from the beginning to the end, just getting scarier and scarier. The camera movements and the music, I feel like, really build the suspense pretty well in this film. And like we all said, the acting is actually really good. Like, the performances are all believable. It does have a mood and a vibe to it that puts me a little bit on edge. There are some moments that are like kind of corny, and that becomes really accepted as the series goes on. So, I like this film a lot. I would recommend anybody watch this film at least one time, even if dolls don't scare you. It's just a fun watch, and so 4.
That was the longest review he's given in
I don't actually think he took a breath.
In literally 56 episodes. That's the longest since our first episode. That's the longest review he's ever given.
He fucking spoke all the way through on one breath.
Look at that. That was impressive.
Jesus.
I give that review 4.
Yeah, no shit.
Right.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
There you go.
A little golf clap for you.
Bow.
No, don't bow.
All right, next
Stop
up,
bowing.
Top That Mike.
I'm not gonna quite give it a 4. I'm gonna give it a 3. I'm gonna say that I think Cody nailed it on the head. I think this entire franchise is really based on a great villain, not so much a particularly great movie. I think there's a reason why people call it the Chucky movies, because this is a fantastic villain. It's scary. It taps into the fear of like childhood toys coming to life and murdering you. Apparently.
Yeah,
not a fear I ever had.
Who didn't have fun?
Anyways, me apparently. But anyways, no. The voice acting is great. It really brings it to life. But again, this film is not really that solid. I actually think that the first half of this film, before Chucky really establishes himself as being alive, is actually more frightening than the tail end of it, where it becomes Terminator.
I agree.
I really do. I think there's a lot of suspense that they really build up, and right past that point, I just don't give a shit. I'm rooting for the doll at this point, so I'm gonna give it a 3. Give it a 3. 3 timeout dolls.
Kyle?
I'm actually going to give it a 4, which is higher than I was anticipating I would going into it. I forgot how good this one was. Lot up until this point, my memories of Chucky have all been based on like mostly Bride of Chucky, because that's like the most recent one that I have stored in my memory, and I forgot how good it was. To the point we've already brought up, the acting I think is really good. I think the story is solid in this movie. I mean, the voodoo elements I totally forgot were in there, and I guarantee the next time I watch it, I'll forget they were in there again. They're not so much in your face that it distracts you from the film, but it's a nice little added little element of mysticism to kind of help add to the story overall. I think the series gets worse as it goes along, so like I'm not a fan of the huge campiness stuff completely, but I do love this film, and I think it is a solid movie. So 4.
I'll go next.
You're
the last one.
Yeah. I'll go next. I will give this 3 timeout dolls.
Oh yeah, it was timeout dolls.
Yep.
4
timeout dolls from Kyle. I'll give it 3. Here's why. Solid film, like I said before in the show, everything I said, it's a solid film throughout, right? It's pretty solid, except I think the thing that it's missing for me is that entertainment element, and it doesn't get that later on until the series, because they're still fishing out and discovering who Chucky is as an iconic character, in my opinion. I feel like it's a solid film, and it's a great introduction to a character, but as far as hitting the entertainment mark, there's something off about it. I don't know if it's not, maybe the violence isn't enough, maybe the stakes aren't high enough. Something's not there for me as far as the entertainment. So it's solid film 3. And And I'm not as long-winded as Chris. All right, guys, that's our show for this week. Please follow us on Instagram at @cultfilm_review. You can also follow us on Twitter there. Follow us on Facebook. You can also follow Mike
at Mike Salustio on Twitter.
You can follow Chris at
cultfilm_Chris on Instagram.
And you can follow Kyle at.
You can follow me on cultfilm_Kyle on Instagram and Twitter.
And you can follow me on Instagram at cultfilmcody _Cody. Something like that.
Sure.
Cult_Cody.
Cult something, Cody.
Cult_Cody Films.
I'll figure it out. Hey guys, do us a solid. Make sure that you go and rate us on whatever you're listening to. 5 stars. Leave us a review. We always enjoy reading those.
Let us know we're doing awesome. Let us know we suck.
And
let
make
us
sure-
know
make
what your
sure-
favorite fruit is. I don't care.
Make sure you
Put
do it, or
something.
else Cody
Put
will be in
something.
your bushes being naughty.
Being naughty.
Being naughty. You don't want that.
Naughty Cody
You
and your
really don't
burly
want it.
bushes.
Yeah, that's a scary thing.
So that's a good title for a movie right there. It's a good title. Think about that. Why don't you have a dream about the script tonight, Kyle, okay? I want you to dream about that tonight.
Yeah, fucking night terrors.
All right, guys, just remember, if you're going to join a cult, make sure they watch good movies. We'll see you next week. I'm in timeout because I've been naughty.